Hello, thank you for joining me today at Liz at Home. I'm going to do a little bit of art journaling for the first time today that I'm sharing. I've been trying this new process for a while. I drew these eyes and I want to try and apply them on my journal page. I'll show you just now how I draw them. I've been using leftover watercolor paint and just painting it off on the page as I've finished other things. So I first want to collage on my page, and I've got this drawer with lots of scrap papers and some old vintage papers. These are actually bridge papers from my parents from about the 1950s. And I've got various papers and old sheet music, and I like that one because it's textured and all sorts of things that I've got to journal with, and some old knitting patterns from about the 1940s from my aunt that used to knit. So I thought these would be great things to collage, so even if one doesn't really see them, I know they're there and they bring back memories to me as I'm working with them. So to start with, I tear the pieces into, without any rhyme or reason at all, actually, I tear things up. That hymn book was my school hymn book. We used to have a hymn book. So I've got some pages from that. It's never used anymore. So a lot of these pages have memories for me. The sheet music was my mom's sheet music that she used to play and sing. And then others are papers I've bought through the year. And I don't really know much about collaging, so I collage without rhyme or reason, just all over the show. I'm trying to find what I think is a pleasing sort of pattern. I will need to learn, I think, to leave some open spaces and things, but this whole process of art journaling is a great new adventure for me, and I have so much fun with it. So I have to kind of clear up the mess a little bit, and then I'm using, this is a Ranger Distress Collage Medium Matte. It's new for me, so I only bought a small little pot full, but really and truly I think there'll be enough in that container to last me for one more journal page and it'll be finished, so I'd need to get a much bigger one. Before I bought this, I was using a gel medium that I'd bought at, we have a shop which I suspect is similar to Hobby Lobby in the States, called PNA, which keeps lots of craft supplies and things. And if you're interested, actually, let me know in the comments if you would like me to do, I've thought of doing the odd visit to a South African, that's like a hobby craft shop, and then there are art shops, and I thought it would be a fun video to, maybe for two videos, one art shop, one Hobby Lobby. Now I'm going to be showing you some tissue paper that I had from a Christmas present, and I drew some eyes on. I showed them a bit at the beginning when they'd been done, but this is just a quick sped up version of me drawing the eyes on the tissue paper. So that you can see how I did that. I'm going to apply them later on with sleepy eyes. That's just with a pencil. And the tissue paper is a little bit crinkly. I should have made the irises a little bit higher. I saw that later, but never mind. They are as they are. And now I had actually gone back and collaged this extra piece as well. And so after, on top of the whole collage is the matte medium. And please do remember to subscribe to the channel. And so then I go in with, I'm using Dina Wakley acrylic paints, and that is Eggplant. And I first try applying it with sort of like a credit card thing, and that didn't work very nicely for me. So I used a sponge. It's the first time I'm using these Dina Wakley paints. They're magnificent paints. I'm in love with them. They're so kind of translucent and, oh, I don't know, such lovely colors. That one now is Cheddar, and I decided to apply it directly onto the page this time. And I'm using the dirty sponge, so it sort of blends a little bit with it. The translucence of these paints is quite nice, as the collage is showing through as well, which I quite liked. After the Cheddar, I used some called Rosie, and that turned out to be like a very pale, kind of glistening picture, paint color, so it didn't really work for what I wanted. Then I went in with this fuchsia, which is also the Dina Wakley Heavy Body acrylic. And again, I used the dirty sponge, so it all kind of mixes. I think it's a gorgeous color. And I have not left any white space. I don't really know how to do that. I'm going to try and get there at some stage in my art journey. I've left this all to dry, and now I'm using still Dina Wakley, a paint color called Buff, and Dina Wakley stencil that I really like. This is also new to me, and I'm sponging that on. I kind of made a bit of a mess at the beginning here, and the stencil jiggled. I found it difficult to apply. I'm so new at all of this. It really is a bit like kindergarten art journaling, but never mind. I am having the time of my life and so much fun doing it. It is like playing in the mud. I did it across the 2 pages and well across the whole thing to try and give some cohesion to this piece. So now I use again my Dina Wakley stencil, and I use some stuff called Patina Effect Paste, which is like a texture paste, which I put over with a palette knife. And again, I'm trying to bring a little bit of cohesion by doing it on both sides. So now I've decided to put the eyes on, and I tear around them because the tearing gives a softer edge that gives a better effect on the journaling. And then I look at the page and I decide that I want to dull it down a little bit before putting those eyes on, find a placement for them. And so I take out some white acrylic paint. This is Iris Titanium White acrylic, which I sponge on. It's also fairly translucent because, as you can see, I didn't water it down. I would have thought it would be a little bit more opaque, but the colors are still shining through, and I sponge it on quite roughly, just to dull down the area a little bit, and then I let that dry, and then I add again this Distress Collage Matte Medium by Ranger to stick the tissue paper eyes down with. I was running out of this matte medium. It's you use really quite a lot. I didn't realize how much you use of it, and I really highly recommend this, and I recommend you don't buy such a small little pot full of it unless you want it for traveling or something. I love. So now I decide I'm going to color in the eyes. I'm just using ordinary Faber, no, I'm using Colleen pencils. The pencils didn't take brilliantly over the matte medium. I really worked quite hard and I wasn't getting a lot of pigment lay down. And the Colleens are usually quite vibrant and nice and soft. So I tried to do that. And then I wanted to do the skin, so I brought out my Daler Rowney little travel palette that I got in one or other subscription box. I can't remember which one. It was just using the little brush that's in there and trying to mix a flesh color from what's there. And the paint kind of, I think that color was very similar to the background to start with, and it was just sitting on top of the paper and didn't look like it was going to do anything. So I just blotted it all off and decided, nope, that's not working. And I came out with my Faber-Castell gelatos, which I've not used much until I started this art journaling, but they did really well. Then I used a bit of gelato to add to the eye as well, and that made the color much more vibrant. I can't remember which colors I used. And then I came in with a Pigmographic 1 pen, which has got like a little brush nib at the end, and just to do the outlines and make the eyes pop a little bit more. So that is that, and my little eyelashes. I still feel like the eyelids need something done, but maybe it will all come together finally at the end. And then I'm looking at the page and wondering what needs doing still. And so I haul out my Dina Wakley Heavy Body acrylic in the buff color, and I just apply a bit of that at the bottom. So here we are with the buff. And so I add a little bit of the Dina Wakley Heavy Body acrylic buff because I just felt like it needed to balance up the top part of the face. I've done it very roughly. I'm not sure if I like how I've done it. Then I found a little quote. She decided to start living the life she imagined. I can see when I look at the finished piece that I need to be more precise about my placing because they both skew and they're glued down now. So then I go over it with the matte medium stuff again. I had quite a lot of difficulty getting it to stick because this book isn't solid underneath, and I've got so many things in it. As you can see, it kind of flops around a bit, so I had a problem. I think I should have stepped away from the piece for a few days because I was getting tired of it and I wanted it finished. So then, what did I do next? I think I decided, I couldn't quite decide what it needed, but I decided to try and blend this in again using my gelatos. They work so well. It's funny, I regretted buying them until I started this art journaling, and now they work so well in this. Just shows art supplies are necessary. And then I wanted to kind of balance out the color a bit. I've got such a lot to learn. Please keep your criticism kind because I'm really a beginner at this. But I can't tell you just how much joy it brings me. Please, I added a bit at the top there to sort of dull that down. Then I felt it still needed something to bring it together, so I added some Dina Wakley washi tapes, which I like because the colors kind of, all the Dina Wakley products kind of go quite well together, which makes it easy to know that your colors are going to sort of blend and not look odd. And then I tore a bit of washi tape just to kind of, I wanted that to to give the continuation look over there. Because, of course, it's got that ring binding. This should never have been an art journal. This was supposed to be a sketchbook. I just sort of repurposed it. And then I used my Stabilo All pencil to do a bit of mark making. Couldn't quite decide what to do. I feel a bit lost with the mark making. I think it all goes along with not really knowing what my style is and what I'm trying to do or anything. So I just held the pencil far at the back so that it was loose and went around things. And then I decided that I would actually do some journaling, which I did, and did more mark making with my pen, which made it all stand out a lot better. I've journaled over so that you can't read.